Welcome to Files. Today, we're unraveling the incredible story of Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet. Imagine visiting someone who could predict your future, diagnose your illness, and even foresee world events, all while in a deep trance. That's exactly what Edgar Cayce did. Born in rural Kentucky, Cayce's unique abilities drew the attention of thousands. But who was this man? And why are his predictions still talked about today? Let's dive into the fascinating life of Edgar Cayce and explore his extraordinary legacy. It was 1935 when a young telegraph operator first encountered the renowned psychic. The office wasn't what he expected. Instead of a therapist's couch for the patient, it was Cayce himself who would lie down. Cayce, soft-spoken and elegantly dressed, explained that he needed to enter a deep trance to channel his insights. He removed his shoes, laid back, and soon began to whisper. What followed were not just personal predictions for the young man, but startling revelations about events across the world. This was the magic of Edgar Cayce, who would soon be known as the Sleeping Prophet. Born in 1877 into a poor farming family in Kentucky, Edgar Cayce wasn't like other children. While his peers played outdoors, Edgar preferred studying the Bible and wandering through the woods, talking to what he called little folk, creatures akin to fairies. At 11, he had a vision of a winged woman who asked him what he wanted most in life. His response was simple yet profound: to help others, especially sick children. This vision marked the beginning of Cayce's journey into the mystical. One day, after receiving a letter from his school about Edgar's poor performance, his father tested him on his spelling. Frustrated by Edgar's struggles, his father knocked him out of his chair. As Edgar lay on the ground, he heard the voice of the woman from the forest, instructing him to rest his head on his school book and sleep. Miraculously, when he woke, he could recite the book word for word. This method of sleep studying transformed him from a struggling student into the best in his class, even allowing him to skip a grade. Cayce's unique abilities continued to manifest in extraordinary ways. After a spinal injury left him partially paralyzed, he recited a remedy in his sleep that cured him by the next morning. Later, severe laryngitis silenced him until a hypnotist, following Cayce's self-diagnosis during a trance, increased blood flow to his throat and restored his voice. These experiences convinced Cayce that his abilities were a gift from God, meant to be shared with the world. By 1902, Cayce was performing daily readings for the sick and injured. His reputation grew when he successfully diagnosed a 5-year-old girl with a spinal injury, contradicting doctors who had deemed her condition fatal. His prescription led to her full recovery, and soon, letters poured in from people seeking his help. For the next 40 years, Cayce provided thousands of readings, helping countless individuals with his medical insights. But Cayce's talents weren't confined to medical diagnoses. He made numerous predictions about future events, many of which have eerily come true. 6 months before the 1929 stock market crash, Cayce advised his investor friends to sell their stocks. Those who ignored him faced financial ruin. He accurately predicted the rise of Hitler, the outbreak of World War II, and the involvement of the United States in the war. He foresaw the deaths of Franklin D. Roosevelt and John F. Kennedy, and even anticipated the racial and civil unrest of the 1960s. One of Cayce's most intriguing predictions involved the legendary lost city of Atlantis. In 1938, he spoke of discovering remnants of Atlantis near Bimini, off the coast of Florida, predicting they would rise in 1968. Remarkably, the Bimini Road, a submerged rock formation, was discovered in the Bahamas that same year, fueling speculation about the existence of Atlantis and the accuracy of Cayce's visions. Cayce also delved into the future of global politics. He believed that Russia, despite its communist regime at the time, would become the beacon of hope for the world, not through communism, but through freedom. This prediction seemed to come true in 1991 with the dissolution of the Soviet Union and Russia's move away from communism. Even in religious and archaeological fields, Cayce made astounding predictions. In 1934, he described the Jewish sect known as the Essenes in detail. Years before the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls confirmed his descriptions. He foresaw significant weather patterns like El Niño and La Niña before they were scientifically recognized, and predicted that the 44th president of the United States would be black, a prophecy fulfilled by Barack Obama. One of Cayce's most unsettling predictions was about his own death. On January 1, 1945, he told his wife he would be buried in 4 days. Despite her protests, he passed away from a stroke on January 3rd and was buried in his hometown, just as he had foreseen. However, Casey's most disturbing prophecies are yet to unfold. He warned of a catastrophic pole shift that would dramatically alter the Earth's geography. According to Casey, this shift would occur when both Mount Etna in Italy and Mount Pelée in Martinique erupted simultaneously. Following these eruptions, humanity would have 90 days to evacuate the coastlines as continents reshaped and oceans engulfed land. In his visions, Africa would split into 3 parts, with the Nile widening and a new waterway dividing the continent. Cairo would be submerged under the expanding Red Sea. Asia, already prone to seismic activity, would see vast regions from the Philippines to Japan swallowed by the ocean. Japan would be reduced to a few small islands, and Taiwan and Korea would vanish. The Chinese coastline would retreat hundreds of miles inland, and India's population would be forced to seek refuge in the Himalayas. Casey also predicted that Antarctica, currently an icy wasteland, would become fertile and green. Australia would lose a quarter of its land to rising seas, transforming areas like Adelaide into a new sea, while the Simpson and Gibson deserts turned into fertile farmland. New Zealand would grow in size and reconnect with mainland Australia, becoming one of the safest places in the New World. Europe would face devastating changes. Northern Europe, including Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark, would sink into the sea, becoming a series of small islands. Most of the UK would disappear beneath the waves, leaving only London and Birmingham as islands. Ireland would vanish except for its highest peaks. A new sea would form between the Caspian, Black, Kara, and Baltic seas, stretching into Siberia, effectively splitting Russia from Europe. Despite these upheavals, Russia's climate would remain stable, allowing it to become Europe's primary food supplier. In North America, Canada's coastline would recede by 200 miles, and regions like Quebec, Ontario, and Alberta would become key survival centers. The west coast of the United States would fracture into nearly 150 islands, with the coastline moving inland toward Nebraska, Wyoming, and Colorado. The Great Lakes would merge with the Mississippi River and extend to the Gulf of Mexico, while the east coast from Maine to Florida would be pushed inland by flooding. Billions would be displaced or perish in this cataclysmic event. While Casey initially predicted this pole shift for 1998, recent NASA observations suggest a slight pole shift began in that very year, raising concerns about the accuracy of Casey's timeline. Despite his many accurate predictions, Casey had his critics. Skeptics argue that with over 14,000 readings, he was bound to be right some of the time. They point out that Casey often used vague language, similar to the techniques used by modern psychics, and that many of his predictions were conveniently open to interpretation. Moreover, when Casey made errors, his supporters often found excuses, such as blaming mischievous spirits or claiming that people failed to follow his advice in time. Yet, even his detractors acknowledged that Casey's intentions were genuine. Unlike many psychics who profit from their abilities, Casey never accepted money for his readings. He saw his gift as a way to help others and dedicated his life to this mission. Whether or not he was truly psychic, Casey's commitment to aiding those in need left a lasting impact. A recent poll found that half of American adults believe in some form of ESP or psychic phenomena. Interestingly, it also revealed that believers tend to be more emotional and creative, while skeptics are more analytical and structured. Regardless of where one stands on the existence of the supernatural, it's undeniable that these beliefs can provide comfort and hope in a chaotic world. In a time when we often feel isolated and uncertain, the story of Edgar Casey reminds us of the importance of community and compassion. Whether or not you believe in his prophecies, Casey's legacy of helping others is a powerful example to follow. In a world that can often feel disconnected, we need more individuals who, like Casey, see themselves as part of a larger whole, dedicated to making a difference in the lives of others. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Edgar Casey's life and predictions. Here on Files, we love delving into the mysteries that challenge our understanding of the world. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember that we're all part of something much greater than ourselves. See you in the next video.